Hi, it's Antonia. I want to share with you a couple of books that I've read recently that I think you might enjoy. The first one is called Death Sentence, as in death. It's written by a British author named David Lodge, and this is his 13th book. It tells a story of Desmond Bates. He's a linguistics professor who's just retired from the university, and while his career is winding down, his wife, who is an interior decorator, her life is starting to get busier, and she requires that her husband come out and socialize with her, which is difficult for Desmond because he does have this hearing problem. If you have a hearing problem or know somebody who has a hearing problem, you know how difficult it can be when you get in social situations. I know for myself, I wear hearing aids, and so does my husband. I'll do things like laugh when I'm not really sure what the person said or nod my head, and it can be pretty uncomfortable, especially if I haven't heard them correctly. Anyway, Desmond gets into some of those situations. His loss of hearing can be pratfallish sort of at times, and one situation occurs where he meets a kind of whacked out American graduate student at a party, and he gets into trouble. He agrees to something that he probably shouldn't have, and part of the story, a large part of the story, is about getting himself out of a fix. The story also deals with his relationship with his wife and how she has a great hearing and he has terrible hearing, and how that causes problems in their marriage. Also, he deals with his father who is dying. In the book, it's a little sexy, it's a little intrigue, it's a little comical, but I think it's a really good read, and I think that you'll enjoy it. Okay, the second book is a true story. It's called An Invisible Thread, and it's the story of Laura Schroff, a true story. She's an ad exec in Manhattan, and it's the story of how she meets this 11-year-old panhandler on the streets, a little black kid who is homeless, and she's one day coming back from lunch, she's intent on getting back to her office. She passes this kid who's got his hand out, and she goes by him, and then she turns around and goes back. And that kind of begins their relationship, their 4-year relationship. They meet every Monday and have lunch. And it's a lovely story about how Laura impacts this kid's life. Surprisingly, it's also a story about how he impacts her life. It's just really, really a great story. She learns a lot from him about being grounded and being a parent. She's a single parent. She doesn't have any idea what it's like to be a parent, but she learns a lot from being with him. And, it's not a spoiler to know that this kid makes it, and she has a lot to do with that. He's still alive today. There are pictures in the book that show them together and show his family. It's really a wonderful story. I read it in 24 hours, and it was a tearjerker. I want to also give a shout out to my friend Sherry. She's the one who recommended this book, and I'm so glad that she did. So these are my two books, An Invisible Thread by Laura Schroff and Death Sentence by David Lodge. I hope you enjoy. Thanks.